innovative smartphone in a slightly toned-down version. This is a smartphone that had its launch in February, but hit stores in Europe in July. This is a great device, though the manufacturer deprived it of some elements, which until now distinguished top LG models from their competition. LG did not introduce G8 ThinQ and V50 ThinQ models to the European market, which is why LG G8s is a smartphone that is supposed to fight with the flagship competition. This is an elegant, solid and efficient flagship, which leaves a bit to be desired in some aspects. The strong CPU, loads of memory, the quality of construction, the presence of stereo speakers or the wireless charging deserve a commendation. There is a nice camera with wide-angle and triple optical zoom and an enhanced module at the front, which covers a 2F sensor and infrared illuminator. In addition, the whole is dust and waterproof and it fulfills the military standards when it comes to falls. On the other hand, there is the overly wide notch and the glass housing that easily catches fingerprints. There is no boombox speaker and hi-fi quad DAC system, especially the latter one is one of the most important and distinguishable features of LG flagships. The camera is slightly weaker than the one in LG G8 ThinQ and the display has only Full HD Plus resolution. Still, even deprived of some functions, G8s is still a great model, which works for many purposes and has a lot to show off against competition's flagships. Packaging and accessories. LG G8s ThinQ is packed in an inconspicuous, black box. Inside, next to the phone, we will find a USB cable and a charger, earphones and a needle for opening the tray for SIM, micro SD cards. In the set there is a silicone etui as well, which is solid and fits tightly and protects the smartphone efficiently. Though I must add that it influences the usage in some way, the upper part of the plastic is so thick that we need to put more force into pressing buttons. Housing and display. LG spared no expenses on the quality of assembly of its smartphones. Here both the design and the quality of used materials are of the highest class. The whole is profiled great, but the ergonomics of this smartphone was not entirely thought through. First of all, the device is rather wide and it influences both the comfort of usage and how the phone lies in hand, especially when we will put the etui on. Second of all, physical buttons. LG placed the power lock button a bit too high, on the right edge of the device, but around 2 cm above where our thumb rests while holding the phone. I can complain about keeping G8s clean. The smartphone catches fingerprints both on the front and on the back, and the back panel is simply a mirror. When it comes to looks, we can only complain about the fact that LG G8s is far from contemporary trends that are among the highest shelf smartphones. Next to a model like OnePlus 7 Pro, LG G8s ThinQ looks a bit old. The display is surrounded by a visible bezel, at the back there is a round fingerprint scanner. In flagships this is a passé solution, and the wide notch only makes it worse. From positive sides we need to draw our attention to the solidness. The glass back of LG G8s are protected by Gorilla Glass 6, and the display, Gorilla Glass 5. In addition, the phone is resistant to falls and has the IP68 certificate of being dust and waterproof. I have no major concerns towards the display. It's big, bright, readable, with great colors and viewability angles. This is an OLED panel with 6.21-inch diagonal and 18:9 ratio, which supports HDR10 and always-on display. The display resolution is 2248 by 1080 pixels, which gives 401 pixels per inch. You cannot see single pixels with your naked eye. When it comes to LG G8 ThinQ, we can only notice that the manufacturer decided not to use a QHD Plus display 1440 by 3120 in favor of a Full HD Plus one. The display is surrounded by a not-so-discreet bezel, especially in the bottom part, while in the upper part of the display there is a large and not too elegant notch, which can be hidden thanks to an appropriate function in settings. But the wideness of the notch is justified. LG packs not only the speaker for calls, that works as the secondary speaker, and the selfies camera, but the 2F sensor and the infrared camera as well. They are responsible for the heightened security of the biometric authorization access to the device, 3D face scanning and hand ID. The 2F module provides an additional novelty, controlling the device using gestures above the display, air motion. 3D face scan, which is now conducted not only by the front camera, but with the 2F sensor as well, is much quicker, safer and more comfortable than a typical facial recognition. In addition, it works at night as well. Hand ID is unlocking the smartphone using vein scanning. What is more, we can wake and unlock the screen without touching it, we just need to hold the hand above the phone for a moment. It requires getting used to this and some precision. It works slower than the rest of biometrical security, but it remains a cool, unconventional alternative for the fingerprint scanner and facial recognition, and it is supposedly much safer. In total, LG G8s offers 4 security methods: a traditional pattern, PIN or password, fingerprint scan, facial recognition and vein scanning. Air motion are gestures made by the user above the display, which are supposed to provide a touchless control. Appropriate motions control the music, changing the volume or taking screenshots. How does it work? We need to hold our hand around 20 cm above the notch and wait for the Z camera to detect it. After that we need to arrange our hand into a shape of a claw and move appropriately to selected functions. However, this is an innovation that looks better in theory than in practice. In my opinion, it is not too intuitive and requires too much time and precision. I cannot imagine that someone could choose this gymnastics above the display instead of a quicker and more natural pressing of buttons or touching the display. At the back panel, our attention is mostly drawn by the triple camera module with a LED flash, which is placed horizontally. It stands slightly above the panel, however if we will put on the etui from the set, the level difference is compensated. At the back we can find the fingerprint scanner as well. A round element can be found under the camera module and our index finger can reach it without any problems. There is a printed manufacturer's logo and the name of the model, and in the lower part we can notice barely visible markings and certificates. 2 glass panels are connected by a metal frame, intersected with antennas bars, on which there is an enhanced set of elements. On the left we have buttons for volume control and a button for waking up the Google Assistant. We can turn it off in settings, while on the right there is a power lock button, placed too high to easily reach it with our thumb. Below this button there is a tray for SIM cards in the nano size and a micro SD card. This is a hybrid solution, in which one socket is used for placing either a SIM or a memory drive cards. On the upper edge we can only find the whole of the microphone for the noise reduction, while the lower edge is the most packed. There we can find a universal jack, the whole of the main microphone, USB-C socket and the external speaker. System and applications. The smartphone works with Android 9 Pie and the LG UX add-on, along with security updates from the 1st of May 2019. The LG interface is not for those who prefer the pure Android. It has a different look, different notifications bar, settings menu is spread out differently and provides numerous additional functions. We can select the main screen with all apps or with a separate tray with apps. Themes support, new second screen, that is the possibility to hide the notch or adding different colors to it in LG apps. Let us add that the wideness of the notch makes icons more cramped. There's no way to show battery level in %. The possibility to control using buttons or gestures, True View, the possibility to adjust the color of the display to the light around us. HDR video effect. Reading mode, blue light filter. Comfortable brightness control from the level of notifications bar. Display color, we can choose 6 predefined settings and the expert mode, in which we can adjust the color's temperature, RGB levels and saturation, shades and sharpness of the display. The possibility to quickly run Google Assistant using the button on the side of the housing. In settings we can deactivate it, but we cannot program it for another function. Numerous personalization options of the always on display function. Smart Doctor app for monitoring, testing and diagnosing, floating bar, additional bar with shortcuts to different functions. Context awareness, changing settings, running modules or apps and reminding us about different things based on our usage and location. Dual app, cloning apps like Facebook or Messenger to be used on another account. Shortcuts, apps and functions run with shortcuts using physical buttons. Knock on, dual tap that turns the display on or off. Games Manager, functions dedicated for gaming, like turning notifications off while gaming, making pauses or adjusting the graphics in games. Besides the set of services from Google, among the pre-installed software we can find utility apps, Mail, Files Manager, Tasks, Music, and apps like Smart ThinQ, LG Health, LG Mobile Switch, Remote Call or Quick Memo Plus. Among the pre-installed soft from external manufacturers we have Facebook, Instagram and Amazon Assistant, the latter one cannot be uninstalled. Sound. The smartphone ensures a great sound. Not only does it have stereo speakers, the speaker on the lower edge and above the display, but it can boast with the DTS-X 3D technology and the cooperation with the Meridian company as well. Unfortunately, the manufacturer did not use the boombox speakers and instead installed the hi-fi quad DAC system, which is a quad 32-bit converter and earphones amplifier from the S-Saber series, which other smartphones from the G or V series could boast. For those who care about the best quality of music through earphones, this is a big disadvantage. However, for most users the quality of sound will be more than enough. It is loud and has a great sound. There is of course a 3.5mm mini jack. In the set, along with the phone, LG provides a good quality earphones. For playing music we can use the Google app or pre-installed music player. There is no FM radio in LG G8s. Photos and video. The manufacturer equipped the G8s ThinQ model with a triple camera, which consists of a 12-megapixel standard camera, 12-megapixel telephoto lens, and a 13-megapixel wide-angle. The camera works fast and ably, it catches the focus instantly and the photography results are definitely pleasing. It perfectly represents colors, provides photos with a good dynamics and with a minimum integration from the software. The only thing that can be sometimes noticeable is a bit too high contrast in some photos. Fortunately this is an exception rather than a rule. The camera does not work that great in less favorable lighting, which mostly results in a loss of details, especially while taking photos with the wide-angle lens. Basically the set of cameras in LG G8s is a set worthy of flagships, maybe not on the level of the best models offered by Huawei or Samsung, but it is still in the top. What is more, the Korean manufacturer emphasizes that LG G8s reached the first place in the VCX ranking. In a more popular DxO mark, G8s did not have its debut yet, but its older brother, LG G8 ThinQ, achieved a nice score of 96 points. Of course cameras in both models are not identical. G8 ThinQ has brighter cameras, and its wide-angle module has a higher resolution. Photos from the main camera are great, with natural colors and a high level of details. Zoom comes in handy in many situations, but I enjoy the work of the wide-angle camera the most. In order to see how a captured photo will look like from each of these cameras, we just need to hold the icon on the screen a bit longer, and we can see the preview from standard, telephoto and wide-angle lenses. Though a more intuitive markings of particular modes would have been nice, the wide-angle lens icon is obvious, but icons of standard and zoom lenses look almost identical. There is a triple-shot mode as well, in which the camera will take something similar to series, using each camera in sequence. LG G8s works acceptably in nighttime photos, though this is not a level of Huawei P30 Pro. The camera app is enhanced when it comes to modes and it ensures numerous functions for taking photos and recording videos. Among available modes we have Auto mode, mode with an AI support, Manual, Portrait, Studio and many more, available in the additional menu. From the level of the main panel there are color modes, while built-in Q-Lens or Google Lens can recognize objects in photos and are responsible for virtual shopping and scanning QR codes. What is more, we have HDR that works in the Auto mode. The maximum resolution of photos is 12 megapixels and UHD 60 frames per second when it comes to videos. The quality of recorded videos is definitely an advantage. LG G8s can record videos in the 4K quality with 60 frames per second. However, due to the work of the stabilization or the possibility to use tracking focus, it is best to remain with Full HD. During the recording we can switch between lenses. Communication. LG G8s has everything that a contemporary smartphone should have. There is a dual-channel Wi-Fi module, Bluetooth 5.0, NFC, fast LTE Category 19, and a navigation receiver that supports GPS, GLONASS, Galileo and Beidou systems. From physical sockets we have a universal jack and a USB Type-C socket with OTG. While being outside the smartphone had no problems with catching fix and connecting to satellites, achieving great accuracy and stable signal. Inside a building, even next to the window, the smartphone did not manage to connect with satellites, and many cheaper smartphones managed to do this. But on a road, while driving a car or while walking, it worked perfectly. Voice calls. The smartphone ensures a decent quality of calls. The microphone nicely transmits the voice and the sound from the receiver is clear and loud enough, though I would not describe it as crystal clear. I had no problems with understanding my interlocutor, and vice versa. The loud speaking mode works great and the microphone for noise reduction proved to be efficient. Memory and efficiency. The built-in memory in the reviewed LG smartphone is 128 GB, but the user is left with less, around 104 GB. If this space for data and apps will not be enough, we can use the additional memory drive, at the expense of one of the SIM cards. I do not think that there is anyone who would complain about the efficiency. In the LG G8s model, the manufacturer has placed Snapdragon 855 with 2.84 GHz, supported by 6 GB of RAM and Adreno 640 GPU. Both benchmarks results and an everyday usage of the phone show that this is in fact the highest shelf. I do not have slightest concerns when it comes to speed, smoothness and efficiency while handling multimedia, in demanding games or while working with many apps in the background. Battery. The 3550 mAh battery provides good lifespans. It will be enough for a whole day of an intensive work, and with a less exploitive usage, even 2 days. Basically, it does not provide impressive lifespans, but they are perfectly acceptable. The charger added to the set is not the fastest one. In order to fully charge the smartphone with it, we need around 2 hours. The possibility of wireless charging is an advantage. The Qi technology is supported. LG G8s Thin Q is a peculiar model. On the one hand, it is packed with innovative technologies and functions, which cannot be found in any other smartphones, but on the other it is clearly toned down when it comes to its archetype, that is G8 Thin Q. With the launch price of €769, it does not have an easy job among flagships of the competition, like Huawei P30, P30 Pro, OnePlus 7 Pro, Samsung Galaxy S10e or Oppo Reno 10X Zoom. But we know that LG smartphones' prices drop down fast, so soon LG G8s Thin Q will be a much more lucrative purchase.